Hey everyone, this is BlackOKSC, and in this video I'll go over a real MWO classic, the RVN-4X. Before I head in though, I wanted to mention to you and my subscribers that we'll be on holiday for most of December and the second half of January, so content will be pretty sparse at the time, but I will kick it up again in February of next year. So thank you for your support and your continued contribution to this channel. I also started a Patreon page if you guys prefer to support in that way, and I'll put a link to the page below. But anyways, being able to play and share my experiences in this game for the last 2.5 years and the feedback that I get on my videos really makes doing this worthwhile. By the way, I wanted to ask you guys whether you enjoy more deep dive videos like this one, or do you prefer faster explanations with less detail? Let me know in the comments below. Let's move on to the subject of the video, the RVN-4X. If you've been one of my viewers since the beginning, you may know that this was the first mech that I've ever done a tutorial on. The reason why I'm bringing it up now is that the 4X is one of the few mechs that didn't have its optimal public queue build change for the last couple of years, despite all the changes to the meta. Between when I first piloted the 4X and now, I've learned a lot more about the game, and therefore, even though the build is the same, it's still worth revisiting again to give you a proper and updated view of the chassis. The Raven 4X's relative position in the category of light mechs has went up and down over the years, from being pretty much disregarded during the early days of MWO to the height of its popularity in early 2016, when its 30% range and duration quirks made it a superb long-range sniper in competitive games and faction warfare. Throughout this time, the ER Large Laser or LPL builds were always the most effective due to the mech's high mounted energy hardpoints, and its lack of the right hardpoints for close-range brawls. You can't really get too creative with these laser builds though. The main difference between the build from 2 years ago and now is that I've dropped the rear armor down to 2 because the mech doesn't get shot from the back very often. And I've also exchanged the jump jet for a larger engine. Back then, I had an XL245 engine because I didn't know the difference between the true double heatsinks in the engine and external DHSs. The LPL version of the 4X is a mid-range harasser and fire support mech. I prefer it over the ER Large Laser and Large Laser versions in the public queue because it's capable of doing a noticeably higher amount of concentrated damage over the course of the game. There's also a dual PPC version, but I think it's way too hot and it doesn't use the 30% duration quirk. As a harasser, it does a fairly good job relative to other light mechs. The thin frontal profile allows it to peek without giving the enemy a lot of surface area to shoot back at. The JJs also helps it get into favorable positions across the map. I'm going to show you now a clip of what you can do with those high mounts. As you can see when we're poking from this position, we're only exposing a very thin slice of the upper torso, making it very difficult for enemies to return fire. That's especially true if they have low mounted weapons. The downside, as with most other light mechs, is that while you can easily avoid fire, it still doesn't output very much damage during the course of the match due to its limited heat dissipation and heat capacity. It has no energy heatgen quirk, which would have made this mech far stronger. Therefore, you can often be the last to die, but only doing 500-600 damage or so, which is good, but typically not enough to carry a game. That's not to say that you should go out and take damage. It's very important to keep yourself safe, since light mechs are actually the most useful closer to the end of the match. This is when they can get good positions to kill off wounded mechs. If you take too much damage in the beginning, even severely hurt enemies can return fire and kill you with a well-placed shot. As far as gameplay, early in the match, you want to get into positions where you're not getting shot back, and use the LPLs to distract the enemy. At this point, your job isn't necessarily to kill, but to get their attention and remove armor. When they have to pay attention to you, they're not shooting your teammates, and it can allow them to get good shots on the enemy. You should absolutely try to avoid one-to-one trades. In fact, if an enemy is looking at you, it's often best to get back to cover or reposition, even if it means you can no longer take a shot. You can use the JJs to laser pop-tart a bit, and the low-duration LPLs can help with that type of engagement. At the end of the match, look for opportunities to focus fire on enemies that your team is already engaging, or pick up hurt mechs solo. At all times, if you see a mech, especially a medium or a light, try to rush you, you need to get back to your team as soon as possible. This build is pretty poor at 1v1s, and added to the fact that it's relatively slow for a light, you can't wander very far away from support. The modules to take are Advanced Seismic, Radar Deprivation, LPL Range, and Cooldown, and Target Info Gathering. Now let's see what it can do in a live match. In this match we're in the Domination game mode, and as you can see the timer is already at 20 something seconds, so we're kind of close to losing based on timer already, so that's why I took, I had to come out here and then try to stop the timer. And took some damage as a result, but otherwise we might have just lost on the timer alone. And this summoner actually being in the circle and allowing us to shoot it actually helps us stop the timer. And if you didn't know, if in domination, if you shot any mech inside the circle, any enemy mech inside the circle, it stops the cap. So this position is not very good because we know that we could get some long-range fire. We can be taking some long-range fire from like the G4 area. So we come over here and then, but this position is not that great either because most of the mechs are over on the far side at F5, so we don't have the range to start shooting there. So what we can do is try to get up on a platform and see if we can shoot downwards using our high mounts. We do see that Kit Fox over there and just getting a couple of shots in there. Looks like an LRM Kit Fox or something with a tag laser. We're just trying to be careful here and then look for enemies that might be coming up the bridge, the ramp on the other side, and shooting them. We don't want to get super close. As I mentioned before, you try to want to not get shot, and using your range is a very good way to not get shot. Although it's not, we don't have like some extreme range. We have just 440 meters optimal, but that's enough to do some, to keep a good distance. Doing smaller amounts of damage is actually better than doing full damage and having to be like super close to the enemy. Your high mounts are being very useful again.
New target acquired.
Let's look for another target to shoot.
New target acquired.
Okay, now the Spirit Bear is looking at us, and even if we didn't know what's on the Spirit Bear, we don't want to keep looking at it. We want to get out and reposition. Here an enemy is already engaged, the same summoner. So we try to help out.
New target acquired.
See other mechs here. So providing some support fire for this against the Spirit Bear. I mistimed that cooldown there. That's a mistake. So like I poked out too early for the LPLs before it cooled down, so that was problematic. Fortunately, he wasn't able to shoot me. So we're just minimally exposing that side. Just trying to avoid getting shot. Similarly here, he's looking at us. We need to just get out of here. Just don't try to poke it unless you're getting free damage. This one kind of hot. That was an okay shutdown. Like I didn't mind that shutdown because I was behind good cover. I was fairly certain he wasn't able to shoot back.
Heat level critical. New target acquired. New target acquired.
I didn't get a very good shot on the Centurion because he was looking at me, and then I just didn't want to stare longer to aim. And
heat level critical.
You don't know exactly what he has, and just avoiding damage is better than than taking fire. That was kind of an unexpected overheat, but thankfully that was just a Kit Fox, LRM Kit Fox.
New target acquired.
So do watch your heat, and I'm also not immune to shutting down at inopportune times, but in general, like I do try to watch my heat pretty well. That's why there's the second weapon group there, the large pulses on chain fire. So if you're running hot and if you're good at judging your heat, then you can use that large pulse to kind of ride that heat cap. As you can see, most of the time we're just taking like back shots, we're just taking small pokes, and we're not really concentrating on a particular enemy. because we just avoiding damage is like really the thing that you have to
New
really pay
target
attention to. Up
acquired.
until maybe the
Target
end of the match, as I
acquired.
mentioned. I thought that was a shutdown mech, but that wasn't. It was just a dead mech.
Target acquired.
Yeah, I can see there's stuff in the back, but I'm not too worried about it because there's a couple of our friendlies engaging them. So I'm kind of taking a bet that they're not going to shoot
New
me,
target acquired.
and it's an LRM boat, so I'm pretty sure
Target
that I'm safe
destroyed.
from them.
Target
We
destroyed.
took out that side torso, I believe, and it's an XL Marauder. XL Marauder. Yeah, could work. Anyways, pretty decent match. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed revisiting the Raven 4X as much as I did. I honestly hadn't touched this mech in the last several months, and it was great to drive it again. Also thank you to everyone who's stayed with the channel for the last couple of years, and I look forward to producing more gameplay videos and guides in the upcoming year. See you next time!